About a week or two ago, Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled was playable at PAX East. People could come up, try out the game, and record their gameplay and upload it to YouTube. But needless to say, a lot of the players who participated in this weren't very good. Even worse though were the comment sections. Of course there were people giving some good tips and advice, but the only cream that rose to the top were people mindlessly berating the players. Even players who managed to come in first or in some of the top spots still got attacked for not using any shortcuts or drift boosting correctly. Hello, they came in first. Does it really matter how they did it? Congratulate them. Now, in one of these videos with commentary, it was quite interesting. The commentator admitted he wasn't doing very well because he tried to play it like Mario Kart, but that didn't work out. So I figured why not make a little tutorial video to help Mario Kart players transition. I mean, it has been the only big kart racing game on the market for quite some time now, so I can understand why it's the only thing some people may be used to. With that said, let's begin. A couple weeks ago, I made a video explaining the differences between Crash Team Racing and Mario Kart and why they can't be compared. And I may be repeating a few points here, but this is more for informative purposes. The previous video was just for commentary. But to give some of you a grasp on how the game feels, I'll go against everything I said and give you a comparison to a Mario Kart game anyways. Most people compare it to Mario Kart 64 just because they came out around the same time, but actually, as someone who's played every Mario Kart game, I must say that it feels the closest to Mario Kart DS, which a majority of the fanbase regards as the best one along with Double Dash, so hopefully you'll like CTR if you give it a try. Now I compare it to Mario Kart DS because in that one, you have a lot more control over your kart compared to other Mario Kart games. In Crash Team Racing, you have a ton of control. Drifting is beneficial and highly recommended, but most turns can be made without it, and drifting demands a lot more than simply holding the button, just like in Mario Kart DS. It's also pretty fast. You can't tell just watching, but actually in gameplay it feels pretty close to 150cc in Mario Kart games. Back to drifting though. Now this is important. This is a big part of the how to play, so pay attention. Drifting is very important in Crash Team Racing, and like I said, it requires a lot more than just holding the shoulder button, similar to how Mario Kart DS has wiggling your fingers and snaking. Now, like most Mario Kart games, you press the shoulder button to hop, and your character will begin sliding in the direction you're trying to drift. But if you look in the corner, a little meter begins to fill up. When the meter turns red, it's time to press the other shoulder button while still drifting to activate your mini boost. You're not done yet though. You can do 3 of these mini boosts within a single drift for a turbo boost. It's easier than it sounds and feels really good to pull off, especially when you're near a slope that can increase your speed thanks to the momentum-based gameplay. The momentum in CTR is very helpful for balancing things out. Even when you're at your top speed, you can always go a little faster by going up and down a slope in just the right way. This balances things out as characters with a lesser top speed are still able to keep up with the crowd thanks to using this momentum. It's great for shortcuts too. In Mario Kart games, most shortcuts can be done by boosting over patches of grass with a mushroom item, or sometimes you're just granted a quicker alternate path. In CTR, however, you can still get over those patches of grass by using your own boost and momentum, no specific items required. Some shortcuts are even entirely based on momentum. See here, I have a boost, but I missed the shortcut. But when I get the same amount of boost with the added momentum of going down a slope, I make it. Once you really get the hang of all this, you can zoom around the map in all kinds of crazy ways. Next, I'm gonna talk about braking. Now, normally it doesn't seem like anything that's interesting enough to be talked about, but it's interesting here. Braking and reversing in CTR is very different. They don't share the same buttons. To brake, simply press and hold the square button, but to reverse, press down on the D-pad. Now this is useful because if you're coming up to a sharp turn and you don't think you're going to be able to make it with your drift, simply tapping brake will help you make that sharp turn without losing the momentum you would normally lose if brake and reverse shared the same button. And when I said CTR gives you a lot more control over your kart, I meant it, as you can even do the sharp turn brake mid-air. Look at this. That's about all you need to know in terms of controls though. You're ready to race. But let's tell you about one more mechanic in the game. And that would be the Wumpa Fruit mechanic. Mario Kart has coins. Collecting them increases your speed. Crash Team Racing has the same thing with its Wumpa Fruit, except the effect is slightly more noticeable. Plus, it powers up each of your items. Regular bombs will have a bigger blast radius when they're juiced up, missiles will become faster and more accurate when they're juiced up, TNT crates will become nitro crates that explode instantly when they're juiced up, and this game's version of the blue shell will attack all players ahead of you instead of just the player in first when it's juiced up. Overall, a lot of the items in this game are a lot more defensive than offensive. In the Mario Kart games, they're pretty overpowered. For example, the green shells can bounce off walls and last quite a long time, but the bombs in CTR just explode as soon as they hit a wall. The red shells in Mario Kart chase down the opponent and race along the track, but the missiles in CTR don't follow the track, they just home in on enemies that are close. They can't go too far. I found myself using TNT and bombs to block missiles by throwing them backwards, more often than attacking players with them. With CTR's items being weaker and more defensive, players in the first couple of spots can still get the good stuff like temporary invincibility. But that's about all I have to teach you for now. I taught you how to drift, I taught you how to brake, I taught you how to use momentum, I taught you how items and Wumpa Fruit work, and I even showed you a couple shortcuts in my gameplay to help give you a head start. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below and I'll try to answer them the best I can. But if that's all, then I'll meet you at the racetrack on June 21st. Leopold the Brave, out.